This is a special case study, especially if you want to retire in the next 10 years. Now, even if you want to retire in 15 years or 20 years or next year, you're going to get the insight that you're looking for. But this video specifically, if you're thinking, I want to retire, I don't have an exact date in mind. It's not like it's January 12th, 2030, but you're like, you know what? I want to retire. I don't know exactly when, but what am I on track for? I want to show you what are the things you need to think about to prepare if you're in the next 10 years thinking about retiring. So I have a really special case study that I'm going to bring to you today, and I'm very excited. If you don't already know, my name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the vice president here at Root. If you're looking for specific guidance around healthcare, tax planning, withdrawal strategy, investing, estate planning, anything involved with an early retirement, I'm here to help you along the way, and I invite you to subscribe. Now, I have a fun surprise for you all before we hop in. I'll often review a review of the week from my podcast or a YouTube comment, and I've got a YouTube comment today, but it's not your average YouTube comment. Check this out. This comes from Skins42, who says, this is exactly why I watch you guys. This is solid advice coupled with examples. Thank you once again for another good video. Truly looking forward to joining the Root Financial Partners family. So I know I don't get to work with all of you, but a lot of you are interested in working with Root, which is very fun and exciting for us. And for those that are, we want to deliver a special experience. And you get to become what we call an LL. You're like, what is that? That's a leisure listener. When you're a Root client, you're going, wow, that's nice to know, but I don't have to worry about is that actually being executed properly for me. So this is a YouTube comment, and this is coming from Earskin, who is one of our new clients working with one of our advisors, Paul. And what's really special is I asked Earskin, I said, hey, this comment is really nice. Thank you for leaving it. Do you mind also explaining like truly through a video so people can actually put a face to the name and go, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. So he was kind enough to do so. Check this out.
Now, I have never made a video in my life, but I felt that this was important. So excuse me while I read what I wrote down. Okay. My name is Erskine, and we recently started working with Root Financial Partners. I wanted to share a bit about our experience so far and why we chose Root. From the beginning, we were looking for a financial advisor who truly understood our unique needs and goals. We initially started working with another advisor at Root, but he wasn't the right fit for us. Then we found Paul, and everything changed. Paul's advice has been solid, practical, and tailored to our situation. The transparency and examples provided in their YouTube videos is what initially drew us in. Our experience has only confirmed that Root lives up to its promises. Choosing Root Financial Partners was the best decision for us because they don't just offer advice. They build relationships. If you're considering reaching out to an advisor, we can confidently say that Root is committed to ensuring you find the perfect fit for your financial journey. Thanks for listening.
So you just heard from Earskin. I'm going to show you how we help people like Earskin understand what they're on track for. What could they create in retirement? Now, this video, once again, is specifically for a couple that came to me. They said, I don't know exactly when I want to retire, but in the next 10 years or so is when we're thinking about it, but we don't know. Like, what are we even on track for? Now, what I'm going to show you right now, this is a tool that's available if you want to use it as well. So even if you don't have, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million bucks, it doesn't mean you can't get assistance from us. We have an academy. You can look in the description of this episode and play around with the same software, even if you want at the same time as me. So check this out. Here's a couple, John and Sarah. And John and Sarah, they're 48 and 40 years old. Now, when they said they wanted to retire in the next 10 years, they weren't like, I want to retire and do nothing. They're like, listen, we're just in high stressful jobs. We don't want to do this forever. So I said, okay, great. Based on what you're working with today, they have about $870,000. I said, what if we just project out you working until 60? And they're like, well, that's not 10 years. That's more than that. I'm like, I know, just humor me. And they're like, okay, why? So what I showed them is, here's where you are today, 47, $870,000. It's in a mix of accounts, which we'll talk about. And they don't have any children. So if their money just keeps growing, they're on track for $6.2 million. I'm like, guys, isn't that so good? They're like, no, we don't want to die with $6.2 million. I'm like, I know. So check this out. Guys, first thing you can do, and I came to them and I said, guys, what if you stopped working at 50? And they're like, but that's like really soon. That's like, I don't know if we could do that. I go, I don't know if you can either, but let's look at what it says. And it shows right off the bat, there's 3.4 million fewer dollars. That's a lot of money, but they're still okay. And so what this is assuming is that they're passing away now with $2.8 million instead of $6.2 million. And they're like, oh my God. So like, should I maybe stop working? I go, no. This assumes markets do really well and we don't get unlucky and there's no crazy stuff occurs and you spend $8,000 a month for the rest of your life. And what if we're unlucky? And what if you are the most unlucky investor ever? Well, if you're the most unlucky investor ever, I want to make sure you are still not going to run the risk of running out of money. And this is cutting it close. If there's $1 million left over, well, what if markets are even worse? Well, now we're going to be in a really tough spot. So this is not me saying to this couple, go retire. Far from it, actually. But it's me saying, okay, this is a powerful tool. Let's make sure we're utilizing it effectively. The reason I like to show it this way is to go, there's a lot of different nuance when we're looking at planning. I want to show you guys the following. So this couple specifically, they said if they had $8,000 a month after taxes adjusted for inflation, they could do what they wanted to do in retirement. I said, that's so cool. Oh my God, let's play it out. And we started talking about it. And they go, well, that $8,000 doesn't really include travel. It doesn't really include other expenses that might come up. I go, great, you're right. We need to add those in. So I want them to go in, and you can see I can do it in here. But of course, you can do this as well if you're using this tool. So I said, hey, let's just humor me. Let's assume it's, extravagant travel. What would that even look like? And they're like, I guess we could spend $30,000 a year, maybe even more. I go, okay, let's plan when you retire every year, but not forever. Let's just say the first 20 years. You're going to want to spend $30,000 a year. What does that do to the plan? Well, let's look. Right off the bat, an extra $30,000 a year. If they worked until 60, there'd be less dollars. There'd be $775,000 less dollars, but they're still okay. So like, okay, good to know, but that assumes they work till 60. Once again, they're 48 and 40 and they want to retire at the same time. So now what if we're looking at this and assuming that they're actually retiring in 10 years? Well, now they'd be 58 and 50 and they still want to travel. Whoa, what happened here? Well, now all of a sudden they're traveling way more. Yes, their money's now being depleted. There's way fewer dollars. They're still okay. It's only coming back up at the end because naturally they're not going to have the same energy and health and they're not going to be spending the same amount. Now, I would argue they're still going to spend. It just might not be on travel. It's on healthcare or other expenses. So they're like, this particular couple is like, okay, this is good, but like, explain to me why you're showing this to me. Like, what do you mean? And I say, great, let's stick with this kind of 58 and 50 and you want to travel. Because that's what you told me, right, guys? And they're like, yeah, I want to stop in 10 years. Okay, great. Here's what happens if you stop saving. Because right now, what they're doing, they're not adding any money to a superhero account. And if you don't already know, that's what I call your brokerage account. And the reason I call it your superhero is it allows you to bridge the gap, like when people say mind the gap, bridge the gap until you can touch these assets at 59 and a half. Now, some of you are like, wait, couldn't you tap it at 55? And yes, there are rules around that. But the important thing to know here, if we're retiring at 58 and 50, well, that's not 59 and a half. So we might have to be really strategic about, okay, where are we going to pull money from? And that's where this superhero account comes in. It helps you bridge the gap. If all of a sudden you go, you know what? I don't want to work until 59 and a half. And I feel like I have enough money. What can I do? Well, I have a client, and there's a real story, who's 53 and they want to stop working because they're really stressed out. Now they have $4.2 million and they don't want to pay the 10% penalty, which is what they'd have to pay if they wanted to withdraw money from their 401k. All of that could have been avoided if they had a superhero account. And so I'll joke with people and say, are you qualified rich, cash poor? They're like, what did you just say? I'm like, yeah, do you have so much money in retirement accounts that you actually don't have the ability to be flexible with what you care about most? And they're like, huh? I go, think about it like the phrase house rich, cash poor. That's my parents. My parents have a $7 million home in Malibu. They never want to ever sell. So they have this home. It's worth a lot of money, but they're still working. Now they're working because they were burned by a few advisors, which I've talked about often. They're okay being used as an example. They actually like it. And I'm lucky because they like what they do. But with them, they have this home and net worth looks good, but it's not creating any income. So great, you have this nice home, but if it's not actually adding cash flow, which is the key to retirement, then it's really not that valuable. Now, what I don't want you to do is don't be house rich, cash poor, but don't be qualified rich, cash poor. So I'm going to show you what if they add more to this. But what I first want to do is, once again, let's assume they get moderate growth in retirement. Let's assume they do retire in 10 years. They spend $8,000 a month after taxes, adjust for inflation. We've got to add in extra expenses for healthcare because from now until Medicare, we've got to pay for healthcare, which can be a lot. I have an ebook on that, and then you can decrease these expenses significantly. So this is not by any means the end all be all. And then what about extra travel? Just being kind of luxurious here. okay, they could make it happen, but it would be a little tight for my comfort. You're like, what do you mean tight? 1.4 million, they don't have children. I go, yeah, but what if markets don't do well? Well, now you're really jeopardizing the risk of not spending what you want the rest of your retirement. So for them, what I said is, I want you to understand the value of savings and how it gets maneuvered. And they're like, okay. So their 401k, they're doing 5% and they're getting a match of 5%. I said, great. Right now you're on track for $1.4 million. What if you stop your saving? What's that going to do? So don't add any more money, John, to your 401k. Well, now we have $726,000. And I'll go to Sarah and go, Sarah, what if you stop too? What if you guys stop saving entirely? What would that do to the plan? Well, it's almost like we're running out of money legitimately in our 70s. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's really scary. I go, yes, this is why you are saving. And so the real value when you're seeing your paycheck, you're adding to your 401k, you don't always feel it. You're like, listen, I know I'm supposed to do it, but I don't really understand it. Watch this number here. As we continue to add to your 401k, what if we did 10% to a 401k? Instead of having $720,000, let's see what you'd have at the end. Okay, wow, that makes a big difference. It's 1.3 million. So now all of a sudden it's adding 3, 4, 5% to your 401k. These make big waves, but I would argue they're not the most important because this couple specifically, they have the majority of their assets in a 401k already. So I'm like, okay, great. That's not your problem. Their problem is they don't have enough in the superhero account. And so what if they were able to add $30,000 a year to their superhero account? Not forever, but the next 10 years. Watch what would happen if they could do that, which I recognize is a big ask. I'm just showing you guys an example. So if they were able to save $30,000 a year to an after-tax brokerage account, well, now all of a sudden they're on track for $1.8 million. And so if they wanted my recommendation on, hey, when's the earliest time we could even consider a retirement if they wanted to retire in 10 years, I need them saving at a minimum $30,000 a year. Now, they might go, look, I can't swing $30,000 a year based on our income and what we're able to save. And I go, great, then you don't need to. What you can do is you can save $15,000 a year. And you're like, yeah, but then it's not going to show as much money at the end. I go, that's true. What you would have to do then is work longer. And they might go, I don't want to work longer. And I say, the name of the game in retirement is trade-offs. What trade-offs are most important to you? Because we can come to the same ending, essentially, of value that you're looking for. It's just, the question is you might be working a little longer, doing something you don't want to do. And so I don't want you working unnecessarily. So when it comes to all of this planning, these trade-offs, the question I want you to ask yourself is the following. What is most important to you? Is it working longer so you can spend what you actually want to spend the rest of retirement? Or is it saying, you know what, $8,000 a month, like this example, that wouldn't even add to my quality of life. I would rather have $6,000 a month and work way less, because if I had $8,000, I don't even know what I would do with that. I couldn't even figure out a way to spend it. So ask yourself, number one, what would you need to feel that you are living your dream retirement? And some people are very luxurious. They go, dream retirement, it's $50,000 a year on travel and, buying an RV and this. I go, great. When are you truly on track to do that? Not because this stuff's meant to build anxiety. I think it does the opposite. I think it allows you to go, wow, yeah, I don't need to work 10 years, this is realistic. I was kind of dreaming about it, but now I see it and I feel it and I know I'm on a good track. You might go, you know what? Turns out I want to spend a lot more than my neighbor and coworker. And if that means I have to work 3 more years so I can spend what I actually want to spend the rest of my life, I want to do that. This is a powerful tool that helps you understand that. And then I want you to go a step deeper. You're like, what's deeper than what you just showed right there? I go, before we're talking to clients about, hey, what position you're in, I want to then stress test it and say, great, what if markets drop by more than we think? And what if Social Security is reduced? What if inflation's way higher? And what if our returns are lower? Or what if, we live longer than we expect, or taxes go up, or healthcare goes up? What if when we play around with all these things, are we still in a good position to retire with confidence? And too many people get too conservative with this and go, oh my God, yep, markets are going to drop like crazy and Social Security is not even going to be there. And they do it to this degree that they're just working unnecessarily forever. So this is not me saying, oh my gosh, play with this to the degree you don't have confidence you can ever retire. It's me saying, understand these trade-offs, understand what is a healthy probability of success, and go, okay, is that one that I'm comfortable with? I have a few clients that go, yeah, I feel really confident because I've invested long enough and I'm going to implement tax strategy and do all the healthcare stuff you talk about, that I'm good. I am not worried. I am in a good spot. Let's do this. I have other clients that go, I see why one of your clients might feel that they're in a good spot with this, but I just know me. And naturally, I'm super conservative. I'd rather work 6 more months or another year or 3 more years so that I'm never even debating this. Even though you tell me I'm in a good spot, I just can't explain it. I'm going to feel better if I work a little longer. I say, great. Then you do that. So it's my job to quantify all of this and come to people like you and go, here's what I need you to think about. Here's what I don't need you to think about. So a lot that I went through today was just heavy on what are these different trade-offs and how do these things work. I want you to understand this couple just so you know like where are they even coming from. And here's their breakdown. So they've got a 401k with $600,000, a Roth IRA, one of them with 110, another Roth with 114, and an HSA with 45,000. So this is what they're working with today. They don't have a superhero account. They don't have a brokerage account. So that's my advice. My advice is go open a brokerage account, add extra dollars. And people go, yeah, but then I don't get a tax deduction for it today. I go, you're right. And I don't want you to. I don't want you to be qualified rich, cash poor. I want you to have the ability that if you say, you know what, I want to do something else, I can, and I have the capacity to do so. So this is what I want to go over. I want to give you my last pro tip here real quick because I just can't help myself. So what I just showed you is what if this couple stops working and they stop after 10 years and do what they want to do and spend less or spend more. I just showed you how all of these trade-offs work. Now I want to show you something really powerful because this to me is really important. So let's assume they stop working after 10 years, just like they're projecting, and they did what I asked them to do. They saved to their superhero account. They did $30,000 a year. Maybe they're doing 3% to a 401k to take advantage of a potential employer match. They're doing everything I'm asking of them. Okay, great. Here you can see they're on track. They're in a good spot. But once again, what did I say at the beginning? Most people don't want to do nothing. They want to do something. They just want it to be fulfilling. So I want them to now talk about part-time income. What if they retire and they don't know exactly what they want to do, but when they retire, they determine they want to do something, let's just say for 10 years. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what income it's going to bring in. They don't even know what it's going to bring in. But watch what happens here because right now I'm showing once again, here they are working 10 more years. Then they're in a pretty good spot. They're spending what they want to spend. We're including travel, we're including healthcare. They're on track for $2.6 million at the end. But they're not going to do nothing. This couple, I know them and they know who they are if they're watching this. And I changed the names, of course, for security purposes. But right here, in terms of part-time income, let's assume they bring in $40,000 a year, just for 10 years. Here's what most people are going to see. They're going to go, oh my God, bring in $40,000 a year for 10 years. That's $400,000. It essentially added $1 million. I go, yeah. And they go, well, how does that work? I go, it's not the $40,000 I even care about at all. I'm like, why not? What do you mean? And you don't think that's good? I go, no, I think it's good. I'm not mean. It's me saying 40,000 is not what I'm worried about. It's 40,000 less. That's now coming from somewhere else that I care about. It's you bringing in 40,000 lets your portfolio keep compounding and growing, and that's the real power. Most people don't always quantify that in their head. So let's assume they brought in $50,000. Well, if they bring in $50,000 a year for 10 years, it could be one of them, it could be both of them. They bring in $50,000 for 10 years. They're now on track for $3.6 million. Okay, $3.6 million is what they're on track for. Stick with me. $3.6 million by stopping work in 10 years and then essentially going, I'm going to do something, don't know what it is, and bring in $50,000 a year for 10 years. What if we take that away? So instead of $3.6 million, what are they actually bringing in now? Well, now you can see here they're bringing in $2.6 million. So by them bringing in $50,000 a year for 10 years or $500,000, it added $1 million. And you're like, oh, I'm seeing it now. And this is the real value of this. So I want you guys to play around with this because you're probably not going to do nothing. You're probably going to do something, but I want you to be able to understand how all these trade-offs might work for you and your retirement. So that's what I want to go through in today's case study. Very exciting for me. Once again, cool to bring in Earskin and talk about his experience with Root and see what that looks like. If you're looking to work with us directly, you can of course see in the description below. You can apply to work with us. You can also just see the access to this academy here. We do have a minimum today of $2 million, and it's not going to be that forever. It's because we want to help as many people as we can, and unfortunately, we have to say no to a lot of people in order to do that. So if you're looking for holistic guidance, of course we want to help out. If you're going, you know what, I want guidance, but I don't quite have $2 million, but I still want help, use this tool. And it comes, by the way, with my videos. You see me walk through it, and I think it's going to be really helpful for you.